Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Maddy Grace Webbin.
And that's it for this week. Eli played the game and was totally ready. Back on, I guess, Monday now that we were going to do it, and then we pushed it back, and he was not able to make it tonight. So we decided instead of doing a bonus game or something like that, we would just hurry and get this episode out because we're all caught up. So.
Apparently some really rough stuff happened like literally today. Normally if one of us has to cancel or something, it's because our life was tough and we weren't able to play. So the fact that Eli did all the playing but then had to bail anyway means it must be pretty rough. So shout outs to Eli, who we love. And whenever Eli isn't on screen, everyone says, "Where's Eli?" That there's the Simpsons reference that Eli would make if he were here. Hope the bullshit that is happening gets resolved and that he's feeling better next week.
Absolutely. This week, me and Maddy will talk about the rest of the Silverant portion of the Tales of Symphonia. Last week was super non-linear. This week is half linear, half not. And as far as I remember and can tell, the rest of the game is linear, but Maddy will find a way.
Yep,
and
I'll find a way.
We'll learn.
Yeah, this week, a big chunk of this week was me playing all the stuff that Sam talked about last week and being like, wow, this is way different. It really is quite... This game... I don't think it's like writing is very good, although it could largely be the localization. I don't really know. I find a lot of it writing either confusingly localized or just like cloying and or cliche or boring. But its narrative design is really cool. It's a very interestingly structured game, both in ways that are objectively awesome and ways that make me go, I don't know. But it's interesting, and I think it does a lot of things that I might talk about later that are really cool. But it really is quite wild how like it's just this big situation that you just kind of work through however you feel like, and it kind of just feels natural. And like this part of the game, it's not just, you got to do 3 main quests and you can do them in any order you want. No, there's also a whole bunch of like side quests that aren't actually side quests. They're all mandatory, but like there's a bunch of plot beats and it's all just shuffled up any way you want. It's very, very weird how you can just kind of, it's like eventually you got to get all these plot beats. And it just kind of happens, and the game kind of adapts to the way that you play it. It is really cool. I was looking at the Let's Play because as you said, Sam, turns out that the Let's Play Archive actually is playing it the same order that I am. Mm-hmm. Well, ish. That's the thing. Even though me and the Let's Play Archive are both essentially going in the same order as far as our dungeons, there's still big discrepancies between the way that they handle things and the way that I handle things. And the reason why I brought that up, I was bringing it up because I wanted to get some pictures of some dialogue that I'd missed. But when I did that, well, I forget what I was going to say, but basically I saw that, that's right. They explicitly made a reference to this one scene that didn't really make sense when I played it. It didn't really make sense when they played it either. But they're basically saying, there's 3 versions of this cutscene, except that the particular way that we played it, none of those 3 versions actually make sense. There probably should have been a 4th version of this cutscene. But the fact that there were even 3 is wild. So you've got paths and sub-paths and just a strange game. Although I am looking forward to actually being able to follow along with Sam's notes in the incoming weeks.
Yes. You might say that this game is the Shadow the Hedgehog of RPGs.
Sure.
But have you ever actually played Shadow the Hedgehog?
I have. It's a dope game.
But my fun fact that I learned yesterday, and I brought it up on the cassette we recorded yesterday, is that there are 360 some odd unique ways to play the story in Shadow the Hedgehog, which is like dumb.
It's weird that game gets reputation for being like, I don't know, the point where the series really jumped the shark and the point where it's like such a bad game, when in reality it's like pretty good and about a million times better than Sonic Heroes, which is actually a really bad game, I realized when I replayed it as an adult.
Yeah, I remember loving the crap out of it because it was a Sonic game on my PlayStation 2, and that was it.
See, I also loved it because it was a Sonic game on my Xbox.
Yeah. I went back and played it, and the opening level is still great.
The opening level is still great.
Maddy was so wrong. This game is awesome. And then I got to level 2, and I'm like, oh, never mind. I'm tired of this shit.
The game, here's the problem with that game. It's got 7 levels, although actually 14 because they're all in groups of 2. One thing I do love about Sonic Heroes is it brings back the act structure of classic Sonic games where you get 2 of each level. But it's got 7 levels. They're all really long. Probably the longest level of any 3D Sonic games. Levels go on forever. And that's a problem because some of them suck.
Oh, yeah.
The good ones are good. The good ones are real good. But the bad ones, whew, buddy, they do not stop from keep happening, and they take a million years. And also the plot is stupid, which is unique because every other 3D Sonic game, I'm not saying the plots are like literature, but I am saying that they are high drama anime horseshit. Whereas Sonic Heroes isn't even that. It's just like nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to Sonic the Hedgehog podcast. But yeah, no, anyway, yeah, this game is sort of like Shadow the Hedgehog, or in that way, where it's just, it's not, what I like is that it doesn't have discernible paths either. It's not like, the game doesn't clearly say, you want to do path A or path B. It just kind of says, figure it out, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it never once is like, do you murder a child for their magical blood, or do you spare them? It's just like, go and do the thing, and then your game will change just because you're doing things.
It's kind of like classic Dragon Quest, actually, like Dragon Quest 3, or even more so Dragon Quest 2, where the game's just like, we're going to gently nudge you in a couple different directions, and eventually you got to figure. Eventually, you're going to do all the dungeons. Yeah. Except those games didn't have that much like plot and cutscenes, whereas this game does. So anyway, we should probably actually talk about the game.
Yeah, probably so. But before we get into the meat of that, how was your week, Maddy?
Okay, first of all, it's been like a week and a half because we changed the recording time to Fridays. So I've had some life changes, as we all know. So has Eli. So it took us a while to really settle on a new schedule. We now are, I'm pretty sure, going to be consistently recording every Friday. I think that time's actually going to work. I cleared it with my partner. They were like, yep, we can definitely do every Friday. That's fine. Of course, I'm sure there'll be things that come up, but for the most part, Fridays are good. Which is good because, life. Okay, what's going on? First of all, it is now week 3 of Moby Dick May. I started off really ahead of the game. I started listening to my audiobook of Moby Dick like I do every year. I started listening to it about 7 days before the start of May because I just felt like it. And I listened to a whole bunch of it. But then I started my new job, and all of a sudden, I feel like a lot of the times I would have to just like I used to listen to it while I was like washing dishes or walking the dog or doing chores. But now my lovely, beautiful partner handles most of those things, so I don't while I'm like sleeping. So the point is, I've really gotten behind. I'm only like 70% of the way through the book now. We'll see if I finish by the end of the month. Moby Dick may have to extend it into June. It's also Meltdown May. It's been a real good Meltdown May. And finally, as I mentioned, I started my new job, and last week was my first real full week of work. And, it was rough. But after the first 3 days, it went from being insanely hard to being like just another shitty job. So I'm feeling the same way this week. It has gone from being insanely hard to being just another shitty job. Like all of me is sore, like all of my muscles hurt all the time, but now that's just normal to me now. And I'm also starting to get a little bit of muscle, which I forgot to think about how I feel about that. And now I'm like, I should have thought about how I feel about that, as far as like gender stuff and body stuff, but whatever. I guess I'm going to be ripped. But more importantly,
But now you can just cosplay that chick from Fire Force that all of anime Twitter is in love
She
with.
is hot.
So.
So anyway, no, but other things though. Me and my girlfriend have started to do something really fun. We started doing what we've been wanting to do forever, which is that basically I'm a JRPG bitch, and I have big, strong opinions about them and have played most of them, as you know from listening to this podcast. That's not true. There's so many I haven't played, but like, I've played a lot of the main canon, right?
Yeah.
Whereas my girlfriend, despite being adjacent to JRPG people and having some very strong opinions on them, isn't actually very knowledgeable of them at all. So we decided that one of the things that we're going to do together as a thing to spend time together is start playing a JRPG. And after a bit of discussion, we narrowed it down to a couple different games. And then eventually we narrowed it down to FF10 and Dragon Quest VIII. They wanted to play a different Dragon Quest. They were wanting to do maybe more like 11 or 5. But I convinced them that 8 is the best choice, even though both of those other games are better. For reasons I won't go into. I just think 8 is a great intro to the series. And also, it's a lot better if you play it after you play the other games in the series, then you realize some of the ways in which it's not as good, which is also a problem. DQ, but we've been playing it together, and DQ8 is so fucking good. It's such a great game. If you never played a DQ game, it's a great way to get started. One reason I decided to go with it over 5 is that I feel like 5 is a little bit of a more intimate game. Also, you would need to find a way to play it on a big screen, and also it doesn't have voice acting, so there's a lot of reading, and reading can be tough when you're playing with someone else. So by playing a game with voice acting, it's a lot easier for the two of us to enjoy together, right? Also, since it's an original game and not a remake, it's a bit slower paced, because most of the Dragon Quest remakes, they make them easier and faster paced than the originals. So and also 8 is just so simple. It's got these big, lovable cartoon characters that get lots of dialogue. It's very hangouty. Anyway, we've really been enjoying playing it, and they've been loving it, which is good, because if they didn't, I'd be sad. And also, I overheard them talking with one of their friends recently. They were like, "Yeah, so my girlfriend Maddy Grace has these really weird opinions about JRPGs, specifically about random battles. And when we first started talking ages ago, I couldn't believe what she was saying and thought she was just so wrong and dumb. But now, as we've been together and I've just heard, the topic has come up so many times, and not like giant arguments, but just like little snippets of conversation here and there. And as I've heard the idea sort of reformulated and repeated in many different conversations and contexts, it really annoys me, because I'm starting to realize that she may have a point. I was like, "You're goddamn right." And now that going back to me not quoting that, but me talking about myself now, and now that they've actually played 6 or 7 hours of Dragon Quest VIII, they're like, "Oh, oh no, my girlfriend was right all along." And I'm like, yes. So that's really fun. What Dragon Quest games do is so subtle that you don't really get it unless you actually play the games. Once you play the games and you feel the effect and how they work psychologically, then so much of this stuff clicks. But anyway. So there's that. And the other thing is that
real quick, speaking of Dragon Quest and random battles, because I remembered and I was waiting for a segue, and then you moved on.
Yeah, go on. No, go for it.
No segues. So I, as I said before, have been playing Dragon Quest XI to teach myself Japanese. And Maddy, since you have already played Dragon Quest XI, so you can just remember what's going on in the story and not have to read it, you should play the 3DS version, because if you play on the bottom screen of the 3DS version, it has random battles.
I know, I heard.
Instead of on screen.
Yeah, except 11 made me mad, because I had a very well-developed theory of why Dragon Quest games work so well and why random battles are good, actually. And then 9 and remake of 8 and remake of 7 decided to put battles on field, and you know what? It's not as good. It damages the game. The game doesn't work as well, especially the remake of 8, by the way. And I was like, this confirms all of my opinions about why random battles are good, because see, they take random battles out, and all of a sudden, the game's sort of whole gestalt system doesn't work as well. But then 11 comes out, and actually it's great. in 11, in my opinion. So it made me annoyed because the latest Dragon Quest game undercuts my entire theory of JRPGs, which was developed by playing the first 9 Dragon Quest games. It really complicated. I really had to rethink a lot of things when I played Dragon Quest 11, and I still haven't finished rethinking them.
I just thought of
That
a
is
great, ROM hack to do for the 3DS version of not Final Fantasy, of Dragon Quest 8. You go in and make the monsters on the field invisible, so it's functionally random battles because you can't dodge them.
That's fun. That's a cute idea.
So
yeah, if anyone out there wants to play DQ8, this is the only DQ game I'll ever say this about. You do need to play the original. Pretty much every other game I'm like, fuck it, do whatever, they're all good, but 8, I'm sorry, but the remake isn't as good for a variety of important reasons. Actually, I'll say that with the original game too. DQ1, play the original. But anyway, that's fun. The other thing I did this week was I had a very stressful last week. It was just nonstop stress and anxiety because of my new job, and also because I was running for an elected leadership position of my local chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, which is cool. I was running for Organization 13. And I had to give a speech, and it was only a 3-minute speech. The thing about 3 minutes is it's both not that long at all and extremely long. I was having a lot of trouble with the speech. I consider myself to be a pretty good writer, but I was really having trouble with the speech, and I had to get a lot of help, and I ended up finishing it about 5 minutes before our convention started, which was real fun. Actually, it was our second day of convention, so the convention was already halfway over by the time I finished my speech. But I gave my speech, and then I think I gave 2 pretty good 1 minute long answers to our Q&A with the membership. And voting is happening as we speak. The voting is over 8 days. I just checked when the voting was going to be over. It started on Sunday, so I was hoping it would end Sunday, but it doesn't end until Sunday night at midnight, and they're not announcing the winners until Monday. So, like, it's driving me insane. I need to know if I won or not. I'm pretty sure I did, because there were a number of open seats. I wasn't just running for one seat. So the probability that I won is pretty high, or that I'm going to win, I guess. But still, I want to see. Also, frankly, I'd love to see the vote counts. Like, not just that I won, but like how many votes I got. That'd be really neat, right? But yeah, it's great. I'm really excited to probably be in a leadership role in this organization that I've been devoting the last 3 years of my life to. And this is a really great, exciting year, because of some things that I won't get into. This is mostly going to be a year of preparation. There's a lot of really big, exciting things that are probably going to happen next year. And this year is the time to start planning and preparing and putting in the structures and processes that we're going to need to really make a big difference next year. Which isn't to say that there's nothing interesting going on this year. There are also things going on this year as well, right? But there's a couple specific big prizes that I'm like, oh man, if we run things right as an organization, then 2022 is going to be popping, basically. But yeah, stay tuned until next week to find out if I actually won, even though, again, pretty sure the answer to that question is yes. Yeah, that's been my week. And after I finished giving my speech and was like done for the day, my body did that whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, it turns out I've been running on adrenaline for the last week. You mind if I just completely collapse into a little puddle for the next 24 hours? And I'm like, but I wanted to do stuff. My body's like, too bad. I didn't realize it was happening until it was over, right? But once it was over, I was like, why is my body collapsing? Oh, right, because it always does this. Yeah. So that's my week.
Yeah, my week has been stressful because I really picked the worst time of my life to start a second podcast for this channel, but did it anyways. And so so my brother's film business is basically got shuttered because of COVID, but not just because of COVID. My brother also has been having a lot of like health issues and stuff, and so it's been harder for him to keep up with his demand. And then a lot of the people that were doing it with him, like his partners and employees and stuff, basically just like left him out to dry. And so he had a huge backlog of stuff. And so I have been coming in to help him like edit videos and stuff like that. But there's a lot of those, and they're hard and take a lot of time, and I don't have any of that. And it was in the like 3 months into this 8 month of hell that I gave myself, and I'm like, you know what? I should play really, really dense JRPGs in addition to the ones that I play every single week. And so I had a rough week, but actually changing to Fridays is going to be great, because the hardest part was like my weekends were needed for like all my leisure time, because that's the days that I don't have work. Like you need to rest. And so I was trying to fit in my rest on the weekends and playing and getting ready to record on Sunday and things like that. So all of my wedding time was going for after work. But after work, you need your rest, especially if like I had a shitty day at work, or like the kids were really like rough at dinner time, like they always are. Like kids are werewolves. They hate when the sun's going down, and it's just garbage. Then I wouldn't want to sit there and listen to some people misquote the Bible and shit for their weddings and all that jazz. And it's just like I couldn't get into the groove. But now date night will be Monday, recording will be Thursday and Friday. That leaves my weekends open, so I can do wedding stuff in the morning when my day hasn't gone to shit yet. I can do those on the weekends, and it's gonna hopefully smooth everything out and all of that. But what I've been doing these past couple of weeks is, so at work we're recycling a bunch of old computer equipment, and we were going through like, oh, what can we have? What can we donate to other nonprofits to get out there to like help people get Wi-Fi access so that they can get fill out job applications and stuff like that. Cause my job is awesome and I love it. And we're a great force for good. But we were looking at all that stuff, and everyone agreed that these old Windows 7 thin client computers, they're basically Raspberry Pis made by HP. Everyone was like, these are garbage. We should just throw them away. And I'm like, oh no, I'll take them. And I've been turning them into emulation machines because they have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi.
Hell yeah.
And they're awesome. And so I've been having a lot of trouble with it, but it's trouble that's not actually trouble. It's like trouble I've invented for myself, because I have a modded PS3, so I can emulate any PlayStation 1 game that I want, because you can just do that on the PS3. That has a really good emulator. It has 100% compatibility. No problems whatsoever for me to use that. But I can't get it to work on my fancy shiny new toy, and I really want to play PlayStation games on there because like its N64 works really good and its PSP works really good. So you would think that PlayStation, which is the easier of those three to emulate, that one would also work, but it's not for some reason. It's super frustrating, but it's also really cool. Shout outs to all of the people that work on Batocera.Linux. It is it's kind of like RetroPie. It uses Emulation Station and puts all of the like RetroArch cores and stuff together. But because it's based on plain Jane Linux and the x86 architecture, it has a lot more it can just run like Python games, and it can run Wine to run any Windows game and things like that. So it's very versatile and is super cool. And I was going to make me a new one of these, make me a new emulation station on a RetroPie for like Father's Day. But now it's like, oh no, I would just want to like beef up this thin client somehow and do it that way. And it's been a lot of fun. But if you are like, wow, that sounds like a great idea, you should steal a thin client, because HP supports Israel, and That's not cool.
Yeah, I was about to say, fuck Israel. That's the other thing that's been happening the last 2 weeks. Big deal. I'm in this weird funk, okay? And here's the weird funk I'm in. Actually, I don't think it's weird funk. I think it's actually a good psychological state that I'm happy I'm in, but still. I just don't experience emotions when it comes to tragic world events anymore. And I don't mean, like, I don't care. I just mean, I don't know. I think I'm so focused on the actions that I'm taking in my own life to change the world that, to me, when bad things happen, my brain's like, well, yeah, bad things are going to continue to happen until we all stop the bad thing from happening. So whatever. But so it's like I have this weird numbness about all that kind of stuff nowadays. Which again, I think is both bad and I think it's actually good. Sometimes it means I can function where other people can't. Yeah. But also, yeah, it's weird. But like, I mean, regardless of my own numbness, it's like, it's terrible. It's totally terrible. 100% full, support for Palestine, who rules. The Palestinians are great. Israel sucks. Fuck them. And also, there's been lots of good memes. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
I love the Pokemon one where it's like a two-state solution. I mean, 2 Palestine seems like a lot, but okay.
Okay, I did see that. That was a really funny one. But yeah. If if maybe you're confused as to why we're saying this, well, I was gonna say I don't even have any resources to drop. I'm that disconnected. I don't even have any helpful resources. But you know who probably does? Lots of other people on the internet. So it shouldn't be too hard to, get educated, figure it out. Sam, if you wanted to, you could even retweet some shit from our Twitter. That way people who follow
I probably
us,
have.
That way people who follow us could see it. Because I don't subscribe to people who are like, it's not my job to educate you. No, it is my job to educate you, except in this particular case, I'm not equipped to do that. Figure that stuff out. But it does suck. It sucks when a really awful thing is happening that there's like literally nothing a person can do about it except for BDS, which is very important. Though to be clear, BDS is specifically about a couple of different companies and not about literally every single company ever, because that isn't how a good boycott works. Look into that, divest in any way you can. That's actually a very good thing that actually will help.
Yeah. And HP is one of those companies. So if you are thinking about starting a contract with HP to like hook up your startup business's computer system, go with Dell. Dell's good. I mean, I don't know how great they are, but they're better than HP.
I mean, they're bad in different ways, instance. But they're at least not bad in the way that an occupied and oppressed people group halfway across the world is specifically asking you to not support them. They're bad in different ways.
Yes. But speaking of things that are bad in different ways,
I'm sorry. I did want to.
That was such a good segue.
That actually was a really good one. Good job. I'm so proud of you. I wanted to mention one more thing, which is simply that I did watch the movie Riot and the Last Dragon on Tuesday. I wanted an review of it. My few sentences review of it. Remember last week when me and Eli were talking about how sometimes fantasy world building makes no sense and it actually kind of annoys us? Yeah. Well, I went and saw Riot and the Last Dragon on Tuesday, and on one hand, I actually think it's a fine movie. I'd probably give it 3 out of 4 stars. It's a very good, enjoyable kids movie. But oh my word, that YA ass world building, in many ways doesn't work, and it got me thinking. Look, I don't want to be all like, well, actually, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not one of those people who gives a shit about like plot holes in movies. What matters is the emotional truth. And like, there's a bunch of other movies that have the same problem, but I didn't care. So it got me wondering, not what's the problem with this movie, but why did I care? Like, why did these problems actually hamper my enjoyment of the movie, right? As opposed to in other movies, I just wouldn't give a shit. And it actually was very interesting for me to watch and think about it, And it made me realize that the movie is very explicitly about politics. It is very explicitly about, like, the theme of the movie is you got to trust people. That's basically it. They say it over and over and over. You got to trust people. You got to trust people. We got to trust each other. We got to come together. We got to trust each other. But I think that if the movie was about interpersonal relationships, it wouldn't have this problem. But the movie is about trusting each other in the sense of like nation states and politics and people with opposing views on like material interests. So basically the movie says we gotta trust each other, but it never creates an accurate portrayal of why people might not trust each other. So if your world building isn't giving me a good impression of why these people don't trust each other, then your message of the fact that we should trust each other feels hollow, right? Anyway, the only reason I brought it up was because me and Eli specifically had that holler last week about this very topic, and it was like, here's another example of a work of art where I'm realizing that this is like the number one thing that impedes my appreciation of work of art now, is when the world building doesn't understand like just like basic historical forces or power structures. Anyway, now we can just immediately smash cut into the next part of our show. Yes.
This week, again, I'm going to talk about my episodes and the way that I did them, and then we'll talk about the meta plot that happened sprinkled throughout that until we all get back together for the Tower of Salvation. So, when I crossed the Hakunisha Peak and I went to the Bellicroft Mausoleum and all that stuff, the next place that I could visit was the town of Lewin. And when I get to Lewin, it is completely blown up. And I'm seeing now on the wiki that I have up to remind me of what happens. That is not what happened to you, Maddy. It was not blown up when you got there.
Yeah, there was this whole thing, but it did get blown up later.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of funny. You walk in, because, Lewin is probably an Englishization of ruin, right?
Yeah.
So imagine these guys waltz in and they're like, welcome to the town of Ruin. And they're like, doesn't look like a ruin. And then later they're like, you see when you call your towns things, it's foreshadowing. Maybe don't call your town Ruin. Anyway, yeah, it was pretty funny. I don't want to go into it though, but yeah, it was not a ruin at first. Yeah.
So when we get there, it's completely blown up. There's nobody there except for Shina Fujibayashi. And we're like, hey, Sheena, are you okay? You're like beat up and dirty and bloody and shit. And she's like, oh, I'm still gonna kill you. I promise. And Colette's like, Rain, do the magic thing. And so Rain heals her and she's like, why would you do that? And we're like, why wouldn't we? Like, what happened? And while she's telling us that the people from the ranch came and took everyone away, killed a lot of people, blew stuff up because the people from the people who at the Asgard human ranch had escaped and come here, like we talked about last week. So because they had escaped, the Desians had blown everything up. And as she's talking about that, in comes Clara, the dude's wife. Her name was Clara.
Yeah, Clara.
So she comes in her zombie form and is trying to attack one of the last few people there. So we go to like scare her off. Sheena's about to kill her. We're like, Sheena, don't do it. And Clara drops a key to does she drop the key to?
I have no help here, man.
I don't remember. I'm trying to remember. I think she drops the key to the Tower of Mana. I'm pretty certain she does. Somebody does. And so from there we can go to the Tower of Mana, but I didn't, because if I remember correctly, the reason I'm having trouble remembering is because I didn't actually realize that I had the key, and I was like, I went and I did all the side quests. I'm like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to get in? And it just unlocks, and it's like, you used the key that you've had this whole fucking time. But I'm pretty certain I got it from her. I think she had dropped it. But
yeah, and just to clarify, when I played this game, the Tower of Mana was literally the first place I went upon emerging in this entire region of the world. I didn't have to, but again, this game's very open-ended. The game did have like a line of dialogue saying like, hey, we should go over there instead of going to the town, instead of going to Lewin. So I did. So yeah, like, and then once I got there, probably the stuff you're about to talk about happened. I'm not sure. We'll see. Go on.
We'll see. Yeah. So from there, because like I said, I didn't realize I had the key to the Tower of Mana, I make my way over to the other town of Haima. I always thought it was Hema, but it's voiced in a dialogue scene, and it is Haima.
It's still Hema in my heart. It just makes more sense to me.
Hema
that's how words work.
Yeah. Let's see what it was in Japanese. It was Haima in Japanese, Haima.
All right.
So, yeah, it was a bad localization choice.
Localize it that way.
Right? But, so I make my way over to Hema, and it is a cliffside town, and town is in like triple quotes because it's just an inn that people live and work at on the side of a mountain, and they lampshade that. If you talk to all the NPCs, they're like, welcome to our town. Well, I mean like our inn, but welcome to our town anyways. And everyone there is adventurers, and they're all we didn't really talk about it, but the church of this game is very based on like going on pilgrimages, but it's not like a pilgrimage to Mecca. It's just go on an adventure and you will find enlightenment. And so these people are all the same basic thing. Basically a glorified rest stop.
Yeah. Some of the twists that happen later this week are a little blunted by the fact that the church is not particularly defined or a huge deal in the game.
Yeah. But again, like you were talking about just a second ago, the like importance to the characters is all laid out there. So it's like, it makes sense in that regard, even though it's like, oh no, the church is bad. It's like, wait,
the what?
What? You mean the free inns that I passed on my journey? But so when you get to Haima, you go into the inn, and there's a girl there named Sophia, and at Lewin, someone mentions that. Okay, I'm remembering a little bit of connective tissue. So at Lewin, when you're talking to Sheena, and she's like, "Oh, they came and they took everybody away to the ranch," and we're like, "Well, how do we get in?" And we can go there and try and we can sneak in, and we all. Or the girls, Rain and Sheena, knock out some hot guards and take their hot leather pants, and then they Chewbacca us, where they're like, "Oh, hey, we have prisoners. We need to take them inside." And so we break in to help break out all of the people. And
this is pretty much how it went for me too. It's just some of the reasons why we were doing things and how we found out to do things are different. But yeah, we still did the Chewbacca thing.
Yeah, and so while we're there doing the Chewbacca thing, we fail for whatever reason. They find us, they plot at us, and we leave. I don't remember exactly what all important happens there. And
the enemies show up, and they sort of do like something dark side, something complete, and then there's this whole part where and again, this is my version of the game, which also, if you recall, was literally 2.5 weeks ago at this point, so I'm trying my best to remember.
Yeah.
But basically, it's like someone is like, I have a teleport spell and we can leave. But it's like only Colette and like, well, not Sheena, she wasn't there. and like Rain leave, whereas they leave Lloyd behind. So Lloyd has to do like more plot stuff and fight dudes, and I'm like, wait, why did only some of them teleport away? That's weird. But yeah, whatever. It's something. A lot of the plot scenes in this game so far are just foreshadowing, where a villain says something like, "We'll need them to do ... the plan," or
Yeah.
or oh, you're from there, and everyone's like, where's there? And Sheena's like, don't worry about it. So it's basically just foreshadowing, and guess what, the stuff they're foreshadowing we're gonna find out about in like 20 minutes. So instead of talking about the foreshadowing, let's just say there was some foreshadowing.
Yeah, there was some foreshadowing of some sort. And
I believe in my game, one of the I can't remember the names of the villains, but one of like the 4 Desian lords or whatever shows up for the first time in this cutscene, in this scene.
Yeah, I think that's what happens. I think Kavar shows up for the first time.
Yes, and I wasn't sure if it was for the first time in your game or not, or if he showed up last week in Waterlane. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, so if I'm remembering correctly, we go there, try and break everybody out. We fail because Kavar has TV and we don't know about it. That might have been last week. I don't fucking know. But we end up failing and having to break out. And so then we end up going back later. But we're trying to find a new way to get back in. And someone at Lewin is like, oh, the only person that's ever broke out of there is Pietro from Hema. So go and talk to Pietro. He broke out. Maybe he'll know a way back in. And that's why I went to Hema. So when you get there, you're like, hey, I need to talk to Pietro. And Sophia's like, oh, Pietro's dead. He done died. That's his grave right up there. You can go and pay your respects or whatever. And we're like, well, I guess we'll do that. That's our only lead we had. Maybe like his grave inscription will give us some sort of a hint or something. And so we go up there, and while we're there, some catatonic ass dude walks up and is like, must kill, chosen, die. And we're like, what the hell? And then Sophia comes up and is like, Pietro, you're supposed to be in bed. And we're like, he's supposed to be dead. That's what you just told us. And goes back and forth, and he's barely making any sentences. And Sophia fills us in that he escaped, but he has a curse on him of some sort, and he's barely functional, and they have no idea how to break the curse. And so everyone's like, well, Rain, like, you're a healer, heal the curse. And Rain's like, I don't know how. I would need it's the resurrection spell. She's like, I need a new spell to be able to do that. There was some dude named Boltzmann who is really good at that, and his books are over at the Tower of Mana. So if we make our way to the Tower of Mana, we can get the book and figure out how to heal him. And so he mentions that there's a boulder outside of the ranch that he had used to cover up his escape route, and he gives us some magical gem doohickey to go and help us move the boulder so that we can break in. And I, thinking I didn't have the key to the Tower of Mana, did the ranch part next. And so you go back into the ranch. This time you succeed at saving everyone, and you blow it the fuck up, and you kill Kavar on your way out. I believe something more important happens when you actually kill it, but I don't remember. Like we said, the important part happens towards the end. I'm checking to see if there's anything I missed. Oh yeah, so the slightly important part is we learn that Lloyd has because we know he already had the Angelus projects X-Sphere, and they want it back because it was going to be like a gift to King Yggdrasil, which was important because we meet King Yggdrasil here in a little bit, and so they're trying to steal it from Lloyd, and that's why it that was the big like plot point there. But so I go and I do the ranch, and then I make my way to the Tower of Mana after running around in circles for a long time trying to figure out where the key was, and that it was in my inventory. So twice I run around in circles related to this Tower of Mana because I ran around trying to figure out how to get into it, and then after I completed it, I forgot that I was trying to get a book, and the first floor is a library, so of course that's where the book was. And I was like, well, what do you mean heal Pietro? How the fuck am I supposed to do that? I never found a book, and it's right fucking there.
And I was just confirming to make sure that I wasn't remembering, because again, it was 2.5 weeks ago. But yeah, this whole heal Pietro quest is literally the first thing that happened to me 2 weeks ago, and everything after that was it. Also, by the way, so in your version of the game, does Sheena know these people?
No. She says that she had like stopped there and kind of knew them and was there to like try and protect them, and that's why she's beat up and bloody. I did also forget to say that when we decide we're going to go and stop the ranch, Sheena joins our party for good. That did not happen to
So
Maddy.
in my version of the game, again, 2.5 weeks ago, you first get to this area, and you go to a nearby location, and you get a cutscene. No, it's actually required. The first thing that happens when you get into the location is you get a cutscene with Sheena. You overhear Sheena talking with Sophia and someone else. And they're like talking in hushed tones about some person they're trying to save, and about some tower, and about some book, and about some guy named whatever the guy is, the great magician, Boltzmann, yeah. And you bust in and you're like, well, what are y'all talking about? You're trying to save somebody, you're trying to be heroes. Oh, damn, Sheena, we thought you were bad, but actually you're good after all. She's like, no, stupid baka. And and then she's like, okay, fine, let's make a truce. You got to help me because I'm trying to help these people. Like, I heard these people were having a problem, and I decided to try and help them. So we need to go to the Tower of Mana to get the book. So, like, that was, like, the defining quest of my entire playthrough. Yeah. And everything else happened, like, as a result of that being, like, kind of your main quest. Absolutely wild. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. And so going from my direction, I skipped over it because it's not important yet. It becomes important later. But the first place you can visit is the lake where you see the unicorn under there. Yep. And you're like, oh, we need to use a summoner, but we don't have one in our team. We'll remember this location and come back if we ever have a summoner. And then you go get Sheena, and then you can come back and do that.
Whereas for me, by the time I got this scene, I already had Sheena, but they were like, we need the summoner, we need the water summoner. We don't have the ability to summon water, and I hadn't done that entire adventure yet. Yeah. So for me, it was actually very natural. For me, after I did all that shit, I then went and this week did all the stuff in Palmcosta. And then on the way, while doing the Palmcosta stuff, after I get the water seal, I'm like, hey, I should form a pact with the water creature, with the summoner that I have in my party right now.
That's so cool.
Whereas for you, they're like, we need to get a water summon. Oh, like from Palmcosta, where we got the water seal? Yeah. But we don't have a summoner.
Yeah.
Stay away from the summoner. You're a bad man.
But, yeah, so I make my way over to the Tower of Mana, and it is a cool dungeon where you split up the party, and
classic.
The only thing that sucks is we're playing with two people, and there are at any given time 2 characters that are fun to play as. There aren't always 4 characters that are fun to play as. And so it took some finagling to be fun at all for me and Summer. Because at first we were Genus, and Genus is a great character, but he sucks to play as because he only casts spells. And so instead of engaging with the mechanics, you just run away to hopefully have enough time to cast a spell. And it's not very fun. But I managed to put the party where we had Lloyd and Colette, which was required, and we had Kratos and Sheena were the 2 playable characters, and then Rain and Genus were filling in the slots.
Mm-hmm.
But so we make our way up to the top, and the first thing that happens, because we have a summoner now, and is you
I don't know.
Hold on. Actually, I did the Lake Umasi thing first because, like I said, I thought I didn't have the thing, and I did all the other bits. So for it to make sense in my head, I'm going to skip and talk about that, and we'll come back to the Tower of Mana.
Sure.
So, so we go. The unicorn. When on my way in, the unicorn is at the bottom. We need a summoner. We get Sheena. We come back, and Sheena's like, I'm a summoner. Like, summoning's not lost in Tetheala at all. Which we'll get to. That's the main plot part.
She hadn't mentioned Tetheala yet, but yeah. She's just like, I'm a summoner for reasons.
Yeah, and so she's like, I'm a summoner. I can totally do it. I just don't have a pact with the water summon. So we are like, oh, that's way back at the water seal. Let's go do a side quest that's part of the main quest. And Rain and Kratos are even like, this is a huge detour. So I turn my ass around and I get on Noish and I walk for 30 minutes to get all the way back to the water seal, get the water summon, come back, and she summons Undini to get the unicorn out. And as she does so, only her and Colette are pure maidens that can go and talk to the unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're talking to the unicorn only refers to Colette as Martel. And the unicorn says that, oh, Martel, you are hurt and you're sick. My horn is to heal your sickness. And Colette's like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm the chosen. This is just this is just how it is. And the unicorn's like, seems fake, but okay. Here's my horn. Anyways, you can use it to heal whoever you want, but taking off my horn kills me. But don't worry, I'm in an endless cycle of rebirth. That's how I'm immortal. I'll be reborn shortly, and it's kind of sad. I felt sad for the unicorn, but then and then when you get back to get back from talking to the unicorn, Sheena is a little mad because Rain and Kratos both knew that there could only be one unicorn at a time, so they knew it was going to die to do the thing. But yeah, so now we have the harder of the two things to find, the unicorn horn, and I don't have the book, so I eventually just try opening the Tower of Mana and find it. So we make our way up to the top, and there's a spirit there who says something along the lines of, "You're not ready to make a pact with me." And unlike the other two pacts where you went in and they were like, "Oh, we're still bound to Mythos," and Sheena was like, "Well, did Mythos like fuck up and like break his pact?" And they're like, "Guess so. We'll be with you." the light spirit is like, no, you're not ready. You have to come back later. And we're like, okay, what the hell?
You know what?
And at that,
they weren't wrong.
They weren't wrong. So, so then Remiel shows up and he's like, you are so close to becoming an angel. Now you just have to make your way over to the Tower of Salvation. And Colette's like, cool, sounds great. So we make our way outside of the.
Well, you forgot to mention that we do a seal here.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. Remiel shows up because it's a seal at the top. I didn't explicitly say it, but yeah, that's
the reason is
at the top.
The reason I think it's explicitly saying is that unlike the other two seals, where it's like, go to the island to get the seal, go to the fire dungeon to get the seal. This one is like, go to the tower to get the book, and then while we're there, it's just like, oh hey, there's a seal here, cool.
Yeah, it wasn't quite that way for me because I had done the Hackanesia Peak quest where I got the thingy and I had a list of where the seals were. And so we knew there was a seal at the tower.
Oh yeah, that runs. I got to tell you about that because that part's fun. I read the book with the seals after having already gotten all the seals. And the cutscene does acknowledge that. The cutscene's like, well, we already got them, but sure, we'll read the book. But yeah. So for me, it was a complete surprise. I was literally just there for an unrelated reason, and then I got a seal, which is why I was like, well, I guess I'm done for the week. But yeah, so that is the fourth and final of our seals, and we have the talk with Remiel, and like you said, it's well, I did mine out of order, but you know, the seal cutscenes are the same no matter what order you go in. So it's there's the first seal, the second seal, the third seal, the fourth seal. It's just that the location may be transplanted.
Yeah.
So the fourth one is like
they do some clever writing where like last week when you got the third seal, she's like, well, it started when we got the fire seal, and then last time and this time, and unless you're paying attention like I was because I knew the plot had split, you don't even realize that
they're subtly not referencing to where you got the seal. Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, but yeah, so you get the last one, and the scene with Remiel is unlike the last one, which is very dramatic. This one's really short. It's pretty much just like, because like last time we had that whole thing where she's like, "Father, why are you being so curt with me?" This time he just shows up and is curt, and he's like, "Here you go," and she's just like, "Okay."
Yeah, over the seal cutscenes, there's a really cool subtle thing that they do where the first time she's like, "Hey, are you my dad?" And he's like, "Oh, Colette, my daughter." And the next time she's like, "Father," and he's like, "Little bitch." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then the third time she's like, "Lord Remiel." And then this time she is all business, and she's just like,
"Yeah,
Remiel Sama."
There's like no drama. It's just a very business transaction. She just shows him and says, "Yo, ravioli, give me the formioli." And he's like, "All right."
Yeah. And so we make our way to outside of the tower, and by
the tower, Sam means the water dungeon.
Yes. We make our way outside of insert third seal dungeon, and Colette's angel toxicosis kicks back in, and so that's super hilarious to me because I have a daughter, and that daughter was obsessed with Doc McStuffins. And Doc McStuffins she's a doctor for all of her toys. So like they'll come in with like a ripped seam, and she'll be like, "Oh, looks like you got a bad case of arm ripiophatosis or whatever," and it's hilarious. And so angel toxicosis is some Doc McStuffins ass shit.
That's funny.
And so this time we cut straight to the chase, and we go to the campsite that night, where Sheena is like, "Hey, I have something I want everyone to I want to say to everyone. I have to tell you why I was going to assassinate the Chosen." And Rain's like, "All right, cool. Tell us how you're from another dimension." And everyone's like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, I totally knew it." And Sheena's like, "Yeah, I am from Tetheala, which is the sister world to this planet, and we share a mana supply. And so while we have a lot of mana, you guys don't. And when you guys have a lot of mana, we don't. And the cycle is determined by the cycle of regeneration. So the Chosen going to regenerate the world means she's going to doom our world. And I had to stop you. And we're like, that's like fucked up, but why the change of heart? Why are you helping us? And she's like, I don't know. I just trust you, and I know that you're good people, and I've seen all the people here that are hurting, and I want to help people. There has to be a way to strike balance between the two of us. Like, maybe we can just get a really long string with cans on the other end of it that go between the two worlds, and we can see when we're at the halfway point and do our regeneration then, instead of at 0 and 100, so that we're always sharing or whatever. And so she's like, I just want a way for everyone to be happy. And so they go to ask Colette something, and Colette can't speak.
Yeah.
The thing that she lost this time around was her ability to speak. So she does a really cute thing where she draws letters in Lloyd's hand, and so she speaks through Lloyd, and it's really cute. And she says that she's going to try and ask Rimiel if there's a way to save both of the worlds. And Sheena's like, that's a great idea, but if it doesn't work out, I may have to kill you after all. And Colette is like, well, if that happens, I'll have to fight back too. And it's cute. And they reach a mutual understanding and stop trying to kill each other for a bit. And then after we get all of the, from there we have all of the seals. So this dude in Hema now will change his tune and will let us do the thing. And so the Tower of Salvation is in a super high mountain range called the Darius Carlon, and you can't really get there very easy. But Hema happens to overlook it, and we're like, we're so close. If only we could get there. And there's a dude that's like, oh, I want to open up Star Tours so we can go and see the Tower of Salvation. And the only way to get close enough is if we ride on the backs of kick-ass dragons. And we're like, can we borrow some of those? And at first he's like, I'm not ready yet. After you do all the side quests, he's like, abso-fucking-lutely. And so we're like, okay, it'll be ready in the morning. First, let's have a Legend of Dragoon hang out with all of the people in the town.
Also, I'm butting in not because I'm like, oh, you skipped something, but because I'm not sure if you skipped something or if it didn't appear in your game. If you just skipped it, I wouldn't care. But in your game, was there a scene where he's actually like, I'm running a business here. If you want to go to the tower, it'll cost you this much money. Like, you're literally just hitching a ride on his tour for the sake of getting to the tower. And he's like, oh yeah, we'll get you to the tower. It'll only be like 60,000 gold. And we're like, that's way too much. And then someone's like, now we're never going to get to the tower and help the Chosen become an angel and save the whole world. And then he's like, oh, you didn't tell me. You should have said you were a Chosen. I'm not going to fucking charge the Chosen.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember the specifics, but at the end he decides to not charge us.
Okay.
The Chosen,
yeah, I never got the I'm not ready yet cutscene because I did this after all the side quests. So I just roll up and he's like, hey, what's up? You want to go and ride? You want to take a ride on my tour? And we're like, cool. Yeah, this is good.
This is exactly what we needed.
Thank you, local small business owner.
Yeah. I had run into him when I was exploring for the first time, and he was up there just getting shit ready.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
But yeah, we have a Legend of Dragoon hangout with everybody where we can go around and talk to everyone, and none of it is super important except for the one with Kratos is like emotionally important, but everyone else is basically like, "Oh, I can't believe our journey is over tomorrow, even though we're only halfway through disc 1. I'm sure that the second disc is just the credits.
Can't believe the game's about to be over, y'all."
Yep, it's a 9-hour JRPG. Nothing bad is going to happen, even though we've already been told that there's a whole second world. But so you go and talk with everyone. The final one being with Colette, and she's like, I'm sorry that we're at the end. I can't even speak. And Lloyd's like, no, I'm sorry. I never made you a birthday present. And Colette says, well, no matter what, I'll wait for forever. Even if I become an angel, I'll wait forever for your thingy. Don't worry about it. And it's real sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But then she also says that she's scared, but she's okay with becoming an angel because did Remiel at the third seal tell us that she was going to die, or was that at the Tower of Salvation? I feel like she told us already.
After the fourth thingy, we realize that what's going to happen is that she's going to. We realize sort of vaguely that she's going to become an angel and she's not going to be human anymore. But it's not until the Tower of Salvation that we learn the more elaborate truth of it.
Okay, because I'm glancing at the Let's Play, and she says, "Giving up my life as a human." I was like, "Wait, is that just a turn of phrase?"
That's the turn of phrase. Did we know the real shit comes in a little bit?
Yeah. So after you go to talk to everyone, you go to sleep, but you wake up in the middle of the night, and Kratos again is outside talking to Noish, but this time you can overhear him, and he tells Noish, "You'll have to continue watching over Lloyd for me. I have things I must do, so I need you to." But right as he says that, some dude in a cape shows up and tries to assassinate him,
and he gets his ass.
He definitely does. So Kratos, like a badass, just turns and stabs the assassin like right in the chest, and then the assassin like poofs away in a cloud of smoke. And Lloyd's like, "What the fuck was that?" And he's like, "It's an assassin. He must have been stopping me because I'm helping the chosen or something." And Lloyd's like, "He seemed like he was very familiar." And Kratos is like, "Let's not worry about that right now." But then he, before you disperse to go wake everybody up, Kratos stops Lloyd and says, "Hey, Lloyd, don't die." And Lloyd's like, "What?" He goes, "Never mind." It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Here's the part
Kratos?
where I would make a reference to Twin Peaks Season 3 if Eli were here, but he's not, so oh well.
He's not. We wake everybody up, and we go get on the back of some kick-ass dragons to fly over to the Tower of Salvation. And Kratos is like, "Well, since I'm the one being paid to protect the Chosen, and I'm kind of a Vegeta badass, I'll ride with Colette. You guys take the other dragons." And we're like, "Cool, that's totally fine. You're not going to backstab us." And so we all get on the dragons, and Kratos and Colette fly off first, and we're all behind them. And so, who did you pick to ride with you on the dragon?
Rain.
Rain. So I picked Sheena, and Sheena's little like vignette or whatever was cute, and I don't remember what it was exactly what it was, like if we learned anything cool, but it was just like it humanized her. Like we've kind of like glossed over it, but the fact that it's so slight, like she swears to kill us, and then we see her 6 times, and she never like tries to kill us any of those 6 times except for once. is just kind of like makes her into this lovable doofus. And so when she ends up joining her team, it's not like, now we have to be nice to Magus because although he's done war crimes to stop the hedgehog. So we're cool with him now. It's like Sheena was always basically a party member. She just didn't realize it from the beginning, and it's real cute. And it was something similar to that, like understanding her pathos in that scene. What was the scene like with Rain?
I didn't end up writing any of it down, so that's not really interesting.
Yeah, probably wasn't. But so we get to
there's one cool thing. Rain. What's the word? She rides like sideways, like cool people do.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Sheena actually is even cooler than that. She stands on the saddle.
That is more cool. Well, I don't know. See, they're both extremely cool. Sheena is cool, but she's also like very like young and peppy and kind of try hard. She's like, look at me, I'm being a badass. Whereas Rain is like, I don't need to prove to you that I'm cool. I will just, in a low key way, kind of just lounge and sit sideways on my dragon because I'm cool as hell.
Yeah,
like it's no big deal.
Yeah. So from so we ride the dragons and we make it to the tower, and Kratos and Colette have already run inside. So we're like, all right, let's hurry and catch them. Weird that they didn't wait for us. I'm sure it's fine. It's probably not a backstab. And so we get inside the tower, and the I don't remember if we talked about it, but the tower is like Corrin's tower from Dragon Ball. It just literally goes up to the sky beyond where you can even see what's at the top of it. It is just a gigantic tower. And I was like, here we go, a 50-floor dungeon. And it is a 0-floor dungeon. Yep. You walk in and there's a teleporter that takes you to the top.
It's literally nothing.
It's cool. So on the inside, you're in a JRPG endless void nothing space with a whole bunch of coffins floating around. And we're like, what are all these coffins? And Colette is like, maybe it's all of the chosen that have failed regenerating the world until now. And we're like, that makes sense. Let's hurry and help Colette make sure it doesn't happen. And so we bust into the scene, and Ramil's like, come on, go ahead and release the final seal. Say your prayers. Complete the sacrifice of your human existence, your heart and your memory. Yeah. When you do so of your free will, you will become an angel. And
we're all like, what?
What? And it's like, yeah, she will. Like when she said she won't be a human anymore, we meant she's going to die. And we're like, what the heck? This is out of nowhere. And Rain is like, actually, this is what happens to every chosen. We kind of all knew it from the beginning. If you would have read Colette's letter instead of blowing up your hometown, you would have known she was trying to tell you.
Yeah, so basically, the reason the distinction is important, because it's a little subtle. Basically, it's like, it's not that Colette herself doesn't, like, ascend to a higher plane of being. Colette, I don't know, whatever you would call that, her mind, her soul, her existence, does die. And then her body is inhabited by Martel. So, like, Colette's gone. It's just Martel in Colette's body. So, yeah, and that is new, I think. We knew that something was going to happen, but we didn't really know exactly, right? Which is that Colette would actually be obliterated. It's not like she would turn into some cool angel thingy. And it's I mentioned to this in the chat with Sam, but it's cute because this is literally the twist from FF10, but also the twist from FF9. Except in both of those games, the twist comes at the end, and it's a big surprising twist. Whereas in this game, it's like the first act. Like it's literally like the premise of the game. Also, it's a lot less subtle foreshadowing.
Yeah. And it's important to note that this time around, Rimiel is not talking in his, yes, Colette, my daughter voice. He is like, you must regenerate the goddess. Like, he is the villain of the piece.
Everything's definitely 100%. Fine.
Yeah. And so, despite his maniacal laughter, Rain still is like, oh yeah, hey, so we heard about this place called Tetheala. Is there a way to make both worlds peaceful? And he's like, sure. If that's what the Chosen wants, then when she's an angel, they'll have peace.
He specifically mentioned, he's like, she can, if she turns into an angel, she will lend her power to the Cruxis, and the Cruxis will then do the thing. And we don't know what that is. Really, it's been mentioned a few times here and there, but I was like, I don't really remember what this is. And we're all just like, okay.
Yeah. And so Colette is like, okay, cool. I'll do it. I'll do the thing. I'll say the prayer. And Lloyd is like, don't. And she runs up to stop him, but Genus holds him back. And it's like, what are we supposed to do? Like, people are suffering. She's going to stop everything by doing this. That's what we're here for. And we're like, okay, fine. And then Colette speaks to Lloyd telepathically somehow, because I guess she can now.
There's no indication of why this happened. She just talks and Lloyd hears her and she's like, wow, you can hear me. That's crazy.
Yeah. And there was also a point right before this where Lloyd is like, Remiel, don't you want Colette to not die? Isn't she her daughter? And he's like, I never said that. You said that. I was just playing along because you said that. So whatever. And so when Colette starts speaking to you telepathically, she's like, I knew that he wasn't my father. It's no big deal. And she's like, thank you. Because of you, I was able to find the courage to protect the world. So I feel like I lived my 16 years to the fullest. So goodbye. I'm off to go save the world. And instead of being like, okay, cool, your wish is now granted, Remiel cackles maniacally, and he's like, I've done it. It's complete. Martel's vessel is complete. And so now I can become one of the 4 seraphim. And we're like, so there were 5 cardinals and 4 seraphim. So now we're going to fight like 3 cherubim and then make our way down until we get to the 1. And so he's like, and so we're all like, what do you mean? Like, why are you acting so crazy? And he's like, oh, I don't give a shit about any of you. I don't have to talk to you anymore because I don't want to. And then we have a boss fight, and it was pretty hard.
Yeah, we get a couple boss fights here, and they're all hard as shit.
Yeah. One of them, thankfully, is hard as shit because it's unwinnable, but it comes after 2 really hard boss fights that are supposed to be winnable, and I only barely won them.
Yeah, I think it took me 3 tries to beat this one, but then after beating this one, the next one, despite being honestly probably harder, I did manage to scrape through on my first try.
Yeah. We didn't lose either one, but we also have the EXP thing, but getting through, spoilers, Kratos, the second fight, we ended it with like no life bottles left and like 3 like apple gels left, and like everyone was only barely alive. Like, I think I had just done a round of the JRPG spiral where I just popped off like my last 4 life bottles, so everyone was technically alive at the end, and then we got the final hit in, but it was like close to killing the shit out of us. But we beat the shit out of Remiel, and he's like, but I'm an angel. How can I lose to these inferior beings? And so we're like, Colette, like, come back. We'll find a way to restore you. Like, you don't have to go and follow this super evil person. And Kratos is like, but she's lost her memory and she's lost her soul. So she's I just thought of something. Did you play with Colette in your party after she lost her voice?
No.
Okay. I wonder if the screeching of special moves, I wonder if she doesn't say anything.
That's cool. That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I didn't think about that until right now.
I changed my party at y'all's suggestion and then didn't change it after that.
Yeah, Rain is way too good.
She's really, really, really good.
Yeah. And so we're like, Colette, come back. But Kratos is like, no, she's not coming back. She's nothing but a puppet now. She's an empty vessel for Martel. And Lloyd is like, why are you up there? We're all down here on like the floor. You're up there like on the stage holding Colette away from us. Like, what the fuck's going on? And Remiel is like, Lord Kratos, have pity on me. Lend me your aid. And we're like, why is Kratos above you? And Kratos is like, I was once of the inferior. I was once an inferior being, and so you, being an ultimate being, asking me for help, isn't that ironic or whatever? And so he like kicks Remiel out of the way, and Lloyd's like, Kratos, what the fuck is going on? And he goes, I am one of the four seraphim from Crucius, and I was sent to keep watch over the chosen. And then he poops out his.
He says, I'm bad, actually.
I'm bad, actually. And pops out his angel wings, and he's like, I was lying to you the whole time. My job was here to make sure that the chosen does the thing so that Martel will have a body. And we're like, but Colette's our friend. We're not going to let you do that. And he goes, well, then fucking fight me 1v1. And so we do. And he's real hard, as we mentioned earlier. He kicked my butt.
Yeah.
Side note, this Let's Play is cute because it's super old. It's from back in the day. This little thing is like, this boss fight was so long, it was almost too long for YouTube. Remember when YouTube videos?
Oh my god, that's so funny! Wow,
that's amazing.
But yeah, this fight, like I said, I managed to beat it my first try. But I was like, I could tell it was like really hard, and I was just like super struggling, and used so many healing items. Eventually, I got the hang of his moves and was able to do some decent dodging and blocking pretty well. But also, it was just a lot of luck. It was
yeah, it was real hard, especially because like he has all of the moves that like he normally has. It's not like he suddenly pulls out some crazy awesome shit, but like I've been leveling him up to have good moves, and so those moves are hard, and I don't like them when they're used against me.
Yep.
When we take him down, we're like, all right, Kratos, we're going to fucking kill you now. But then David Bowie Colette comes down from the sky, and he's like, oh, Kratos, I guess you couldn't bring yourself to fight at full power against an opponent such as Lloyd. And we learned that this is Lord Yggdrasil, who is an angel, therefore part of Crucius, the church, but is also the same Lord Yggdrasil that all of the Desians were talking about.
Right, that was mentioned a little bit last week.
Mm-hmm. And so we then have a fight with him, and I'm like, oh no, I just nearly died with Kratos. What the fuck am I going to do? So I happened to have a unison attack ready, and I did the unison attack, and it did 0 damage. And I'm like, oh, okay.
And you were like, oh, okay, fine, yeah. Luckily, I didn't even have that. I got my ass kicked so immediately in this battle that I didn't even have time to like realize that it was actually a forced loss. I was just like, wow, that guy beat me real. Oh, okay, no, we're good. Okay. Which honestly, forced losses are an interesting trope in games. My hot take is that if you're gonna do one, it should happen real quick. Because the worst thing is when the battle's hard, but it's not so hard that you realize what's going on. So you like use all your good healing items, and then you die, and then the game continues. And you're like, well, if I'd known that, I wouldn't have used all my good healing items. Now I can see like the dramatic use of that kind of thing, but most of the time, instead of being dramatic, it's just annoying. Xenogears is really bad about that, if you recall. It had a couple where it's like, yeah, this is the first loss, but it's still going to take you like 10 turns to die. But yeah, no, this battle lasted like 4 seconds for me.
What sucked for me is because we had 2 human players, and then Rain was on run away and just heal, and Genus runs away to cast his spells. So we weren't all hit by an AoE at the same time ever. So it was like so it was dealing a lot of damage, but it was only like around our max HP. So it was like, are we just a little under leveled? Should we take this guy or not? But it wasn't until I attempted to do damage and saw I wasn't doing any that I knew it was okay to die. It wasn't like he was doing 99999, which I think
to die.
They should. For forced losses, it should be obvious. But so he kicks our ass, and we are down on the ground about to die, and Yggdrasil is about to kill us, but then Boda, the Desian that kept saying I'm not a Desian from way back at the very beginning of the game, he shows up, and they grab our party and run away with them, and including Colette. They grab Colette as well, and so Yggdrasil is like, well, fuck, but oh well, we'll leave, we'll regroup, and we'll come back. And Kratos is like, cool, let's leave. But before they like fly off, he turns around and is like, don't die, Lloyd. I'm like, what the fuck's happening there? But so we come to, I need to pick up the pace. It's an hour and a half. But we come to in the Silverant base that we went to prison way back in episode 1, and Colette's there, but with us, but she's completely like
zonked out,
just a mannequin, zombied out, doesn't remember anything. And so we talk about everything that just happened. Basically, they say it in dialogue just in case things went over anybody's head, and then they come in and are like, hey, come into the next room. Our leader wants to talk to you. And when we get in there, the leader is that assassin guy from earlier that Kratos fucking got. And they say that they are the Renegades, which is an underground resistance that's dedicated to fighting the Desians and Crucius, because they are the same. And they say that the Church of Martel is just an instrument created by Crucius to rule the world, and all of the angels are just half-elves who have a special kind of X-sphere called a Crucius crystal. They're not gods or anything. They're just people like the rest of us. And so we're like, why, like, what the fuck is their plan? Like, what are they doing? It doesn't really make sense. Why are they playing both sides? And they're like, well, because of Tetheala, Yggdrasil created this world and tied it to Tetheala for some reason, and we don't get to learn why. And Lloyd's like, okay, so if we're on the same side, why did you try to kill Colette? And I'm like, well, Colette's the chosen, and we were trying to stop the cycle of regeneration. We were trying to stop the revival. Therefore, we were going to kill her. And we're like, well, why aren't you killing her now? And they're like, because we don't need the chosen. We have you, Lloyd Irving. And we're like, what the fuck? And he's like, I can't tell you. and he's about to like take us away or something like that. But then his wounds that Kratos gave him like flare up, and he buckles over in pain, which gives us time to use Sheena's ninja skills and get the fuck out of there. So then we have another dungeon that I actually really, really liked. It was it's a lot of just like Sokoban block puzzles, but they have multiple levels to them. So like you have to put them in a certain way to solve up here, and then move them in another way and move the floor down to solve a puzzle below it. And it was a lot of fun. But we make our way out of the Silverant base, but we can't get out of the front door because there's like guards there that we for some reason don't feel like killing, unlike all the other guards that we've been killing.
Apparently
so
we don't want to ice everybody this time around.
Yeah. So we're trying to find another way out, and Sheena's like, oh, they probably have a sky jet ski. I forget what she fucking calls them, but they're sky jet skis. And she's like, that's how I got here from Tetheala, so I'm sure that they have some here. And we find the hangar where they have the sky jet skis. We get on them. They're called Riards, is what they're called. But we take off on our sky jet skis, and they're super cool. And we keep flying like straight up to the sky until we're suddenly now flying down into a different place. It's a really cool, like, you know, the Fantasia 2000 bit with the flying whales?
Yeah.
When they get to the top of the clouds, it's like they're finally busting out of the water. It's kind of like that, but
like that.
When they bust through the water, they bust down from the clouds in Tetheala, and it's pretty cool. And so as we're flying in, we're trying to find a good place to land, but we run out of fuel because the mana in Tetheala has started to go down because we completed the journey of regeneration. And so we crash our jet skis into the Fuji Mountains, and we have no real idea what to do next. And Sheena's like, well, we should talk to our chosen here in Tetheala, because we have a chosen as well.
Who
like,
earlier
cool.
Sheena had mentioned that they had their own chosen, and she was like, I hate that guy.
Yeah. She's like, well, we'll go talk to him, but that right over there is a save point, so this is where we stopped for the week.
Great place to stop. Everyone is like, well, we have mostly no idea what's going on and don't know what we should be doing.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, this is the start of Disc 2, but I don't quite remember.
I mean,
so
it would make sense.
Yeah. It's a very Disc 2 sort of switch. But let's listen to something and then talk about our memorable moments, and Maddy can talk about all the different things that were hecka different.
Not too much, really. Let's see. There's a scene, this is actually from last week, but I didn't share it because y'all hadn't done it. When we sneak ourselves in as Desians, Lloyd goes, we'll sneak ourselves in, we'll disguise ourselves as Desians. And then Rain goes, ... I see the gears in your head move quickly, only at times like this. And Lloyd says, what's that supposed to mean? And what's cute is, that's only one example. But I noticed there's like at least 3 or 4 other points during this week and last week where Lloyd has a good idea and characters comment on like, wow, I guess you're not an idiot. And I realized there's something in common. He literally is only good at one thing, and it's being a JRPG hero. Like, anything that has to do with like saving the world or like fulfilling a prophecy or solving a puzzle maybe or fighting a boss, he's good at. Anything that is not that, he's a fucking idiot. So he's really good at one thing, and it just happens to be being the main character in a JRPG. He's like, he studied it. It's quite funny.
It's like from Fairly Odd Parents. It's like August 8th, 2004. Lloyd had a good idea. Well, that was good while it lasted.
Yep. Another thing I liked about this, and this isn't a single scene, but there's a ton of scenes about, I don't know, like, the twists happen. But what really surprised me was how this whole week was just the characters being confused and uncertain. Like, in a way that I don't normally see in games. Like, yeah, you see them talking, and, like, Sheena, what set are you on? And she's like, I don't know. There's all these twists, and I just want everything to be okay. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing here. And then earlier, when we found out that, like, EX spheres come from humans, you know, there's this big scene where they're like, I don't know if I should use EX spheres anymore because they come from humans. But then Kratos is like, yeah, but if you throw that away, you can't finish the journey. And they don't really come to, like, a moral conclusion of, like, they don't say what I think they would have said, which is, like, it's what the person who died would have wanted. No, it's pretty much just like, well, we feel really icky using these, but also we have to because we want to save the world. So I guess we will, and we'll just feel icky about it. And then what else? So I have two different sets of screenshots from the two different major days that I played the game. When you go in my game, because you do all the stuff on the water island later, right? So when I went from the water island, when I talked to the guy on the boat to go over the water island, he says, okay, then let's set sail. ... Don't blame me if you run into any monsters. And I thought that was cute, because that's like such a JRPG trope. But the funny thing is, we didn't run into any monsters.
We did not. Not at all. That did remind me of because I had one last week that I was like, oh, I'll save it for next week so I don't spoil it for Maddy. But you to get to the water thing, you ride on boats, but because all of the boats are grounded because of the aforementioned monsters, the tour company only has wash tubs with oars that everyone can ride in.
It's very cute.
And Rain is deathly afraid of water, so she doesn't want to get in it. But you all are like, well, we have to get over to the thing, and she's like, oh, like I'll buck up, I'll do it. And so you are getting in the boats, and Rain goes, ah, and you're like, what's the matter? She goes, nothing. I just said, this is going to be fun.
Yep. There's also a good scene where, like I said, after I finally got the statue thingy, I returned the statue thingy and got the book. And they're like, cool, let's read the book. And but then Rain is like, there's quite a large volume of text. I'll read aloud the part that concerns the seals, but be aware, I don't understand it as well as Colette does. And Kratos is like, it's fine. We already finished releasing the seals anyway. And Rain is like, okay, here I go. And she tries to read it, and it sort of vaguely says where the 4 seals are. And then Janice is like, what does it mean? And she goes, that tells us where the seals are, but it's all just places we've already been. And Kratos is like, okay, cool, let's go to the Tower of Salvation. Completely pointless. Sam already...
That's kind of funny because you obviously got there after Colette lost her voice. Yeah. Colette just read it aloud for me because...
Yeah, in order to Colette couldn't read it.
My first thing, yeah.
So also, when we're talking about who's going to go to the... where was it? When we're sending to go see the unicorn, and only the person who's pure apart, or who's a pure maiden can go see it. Rain says, I can't go. And Lloyd's like, why not? And she goes, because I'm an adult. And
Rain
she's saying it's because she's fucked. But Lloyd's like, what? And that's it. So Lloyd doesn't understand. He doesn't. I guess he hasn't found out what fucking is, which is really funny.
Yeah, there were a couple times this week that, like, I got huge vibes that, like, Rain and Kratos had been, like, doing the dirty this whole this whole
Rain
journey.
is really cool. It's funny how you're it's like, here's a journey with a bunch of kids, except for this one person who is an adult. I guess FF10 does that as well, actually, with Auron. But yeah, it's cute. But also, the first time you do a summon spirit, there's a skit about how it's so cool, and everyone's like, "Wow, Sheena, you're so fucking cool." But then, and I won't go into it too much. They're just like, "You're so cool, right?" But then later, when you get your second summon spirit, and for me it was Ifrit, although Sam said that he didn't get Ifrit. Janice does the same thing. Janice is like, "Sheena, you're so cool," and Lloyd's just like, "Eh." And she's like, "What do you mean, eh?" And he's like, and Janice is like, "It's so cool." He's like, "I mean, it was cool last time, but like at this point, I'm just kind of used to it."
Yeah.
He's like, "I mean, yeah, sure. Like we it's normalized."
And that one's especially hilarious because on your way to the first seal, because for me, I went to Lake Umasi and she needed to get the seal, so there was like a chunk of time where we were like pinpointed on that destination. So on the way over there was a skit where Lloyd was like, "Man, I'm so excited. We're going to get summon spirits. It's going to be everything we can kick Zion butt with it." And Kratos is like, "Be careful, Lloyd. You're getting too excited." And it's like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "This is the thing you always do. You get really excited and you burn out on things really quick and get bored with it." And he's like, "No, this is the coolest shit ever. I'll never get bored." And so then the next skit is like, "I mean, whatever. It's just a fucking summon spirit."
Yeah. It's really so good. Also, when Colette is telling you about how it's okay that you didn't give her fucking Komodo dragon necklace. She says, "I'll keep on waiting. You can give it to me anytime." And I just thought that was funny because she says that you can give it to her. Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
It's a sex joke. And you know she wants that. Also, when you go back to Lewin, it's sort of a town building minigame. Did you notice this?
Yeah. You
can donate gold to rebuild the town, and goud. And the more goud you build, more and more NPCs come back, and the graphics change, and they rebuild things. It hasn't developed into anything yet for me. It just is there, but it will. It's cool, and I'm sure that it will. It's neat. Final thing, Sam. So did you never end up getting the whole the magical bird side quest?
I never went and did it. I got it started last week.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I couldn't remember if you had or not, because I did, right? I couldn't remember if you did or not. Yeah, now we're in another world, so I guess we completed over here in the other dimension, I guess? Maybe it's a cross-dimensional bird?
Or maybe we come back later, because like I said, I remember vaguely that like you go back and forth, and maybe you still do, but it's not like to go to new places on the other side, because we've exhausted all of the locations on the Silverant half of the wiki, so I feel like we don't go back, but maybe we do, and it's just
to revisit for like things,
side questy things or whatever.
But yeah, that's all I've got as far as specific moments. I just really liked this week. I really liked the moral ambiguity of it. It was something that was really at odds with what I expected, given the game's general, like, very, like, child-friendly kind of tone. And it also wasn't super drama. It wasn't, like, super high drama. It's, like, chill, hanging out, but the characters that are being chill and hanging out kind of just have a bunch of not particularly solid ideas on things, and part of it is that you just don't know. You don't know a lot of most of the stuff happens before all the big twists, right? So we're just like, we don't have all the information and do not understand what it is. But I guess it's like in a lot of games, when there's a twist that's going to happen later, the characters are just totally ignorant of it. And then later it happens and they're like, whoa, we're so surprised. In this, they're not ignorant. They know something's going on. They just don't know what it is. And they talk openly about their sort of confusion and their disillusionment and their sort of unstableness. And not just Sheena, but Lloyd. Like, Lloyd, they don't really know how to feel about Sheena. They don't know if what they're doing is moral, but they don't really see any other options. It's just really cool. And I hope that now that we have a more clear villain, it doesn't stop being that way. I hope it continues to have this level of sort of interesting ambiguity and unsettlingness to it. We'll see.
Yeah. The final thing that I wanted to bring up is you should let your title screen play until you get to the hype mode, because the hype mode is the opening from the PS2 version of the game, which is a better song. It's the same anime opening, and it doesn't fit the anime opening as much as the regular one does, but the song is really good.
Nice.
So you should listen to the song. But other than that, that's all that I have.
Hell yeah.
So if you liked what you heard this week, you should head on over to our website at www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate and keep the lights on. And those who donate now get a personalized invitation into our Discord, because Ko-Fi added Discord's direct support, which is great, because before I had to manually add people, and so now I can't forget. But so you'll get a personal invite to our Discord, and you will get access to our side podcast that I alluded to earlier, where we were playing through the entire Trails series. We were supposed to finish up the first game this week, but that last chapter is real long and real dense and doesn't have random battles, because it all takes place in a city. And so it's like you have to go out of your way to like grind between matches, and I didn't do that, so it was really difficult to get through. So this last chapter is being broke up into 3, so we are nearing the end of our first game. So head on over there, check that out. But most importantly, we desperately need you to vote on our Best of the Rest for year 3, because it is the closest that a Best of the Rest has ever been right now. So when it started, it was like a shutout. Like Final Fantasy X-2 was winning with like it was tied for first for everybody. But more and more votes have been coming in where it's super neck and neck. Like the Breath of Fire 4 is in last place with 14 points, but then 10-2, Anachronox, and Hex's Force have 9, 8, 9, respectively. So Anachronox is winning, but only by 1 point. So get in there, get your votes in. This is a very close race.
Given that we're all very busy right now, our lives have all just gotten really difficult. Last time I said I didn't have a preference because, frankly, they all sound great. But now I'm just going to say it. Vote for Hex's Force.
Yeah,
I heard it's easy and for babies, and right now that's what I want. As always, you don't have to listen to me. Feel free to not vote for it if you want to make me sad. But I officially am gonna say vote for Hex's Force. That's my endorsement.
Yeah, the one of these games that I want to play the most is Breath of Fire 4. So you can either vote for it and make me play it, or don't vote for it so I can play it whenever the fuck I want to.
Play it on your own time, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the main thing that I have. I feel like a Final Fantasy game would be a lot right now. So Anachronox or Hex's Force is where I'm putting my thing. I will say that Hex's Force and Final Fantasy X-2 are the two that have gotten first place votes. The other ones all are tied because they all have middle of the road votes.
Yeah, to be clear, if you want us to play Hex's Force, you're going to want to vote for Hex's Force number 1, and you're going to want to vote for FF10-2 or Anachronox last.
Yes.
We're using the board account system, which means if you rank it last, it hurts it the most. So since it's currently winning, you're going to want to put Breath of Fire number 2. Because if you vote for, if we got a couple people voting and they're voting for Hex's Force, but like say half of them say Hex's Force and then Breath of Fire, Hex's Force and then FF, and the other half are like Hex's Force and then Anachronox, that just means that one of those two is still going to win because of the second place votes. So if you want to be nice, basically whichever one, if you want us to play one of those 3, you need to bear the other 2.
Yes, that is the goal. But
this has been Vote Counting Strategy with Maddy Grace.
Yes, yes, absolutely. But yeah, so go in, vote on that. Your vote is incredibly important. And you while you're there, I finally made good on my promise that I made 3 years ago to make a Legend of Dragoon shirt. And so we now have a shirt on our Ko-Fi shop that is simply a Legend of Dragoon text box that says, "Oh no, my God." And it tickles me pink.
It's
and
so cute.
I've sold 3 of them. So I should have done this a long time ago,
Really
because
should've.
apparently it's the hot ticket item. My next text box shirt is going to be from Xenogears, but I haven't decided what the quote would be. The one I want to do is Ellie,
It's a pretty good one.
I don't remember if that was on a text box or actually in a cutscene. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was a text box. No, yeah, because the reason we say it's so weird. Well, I think that he does say Ellie weird in a voice cutscene, but also that game does very strange things with punctuation and spelling.
It really does.
So I'm pretty sure it had like a tilde. Oh my God. Sorry, my girlfriend just walked in with an incredibly looking hamburger. So let's wrap this up so I can eat this fucking hamburger. Holy fuck. Holy,
yeah.
I'm taking a picture and sending it to you so you can understand.
Nice.
The level.
Enjoy your steamed hams.
Real quick, please tell us all where we're playing to next week.
Yes. So next week we are playing. I had this written down and then I closed that tab because I thought we were done. Give me just a second. Pulling it back up. So we are playing to the town of Ozette. So assuming that this is linear, we will play everything up until we get to the quiescent town, Ozette. And so
sorry, I'm eating french fries.
When you bump up against it on the world map and it pops up that is the town of Ozette, hit that circle button, press that triangle button.
Hell yeah.
Make your way over to the system menu, hit select save from that menu, pick a new save spot, because you should always rotate your saves. Saves are minusculely small on modern consoles compared to the size of the game. You should just have 1 million saves for every game. Make a new save slot, and then we'll talk about it for the next week.
Alternately, don't do that because it's more fun and you'll living on the edge.
But for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Alden.
My mouth's not actually full of fries. I'm just pretending like it is.
Enjoy your steamed ham.
Bye, folks.
Bye.